Star Citizen has some truly iconic ships, but let's be honest, not all of them have aged well. Some designs feel outdated, some have frustrating layouts, and others just don't live up to their intended roles. In this video, we are going to take a look at 4 ships that desperately need a complete rework: the RSI Aurora, the RSI Constellation, the MISC Freelancer, and the Crusader Mercury Starrunner. Whether it's clunky interiors, bad turret placements, or gameplay features that just don't work, these ships could use a serious overhaul to bring them up to modern standards. So let's break down exactly what's wrong with them and how a proper rework could turn them into true legends of the verse. I'm Iran and you are watching Star Citizen Ship Talk. The RSI Aurora is one of Star Citizen's oldest ships, and while it serves its purpose as a starter vessel, it could greatly benefit from a complete remake. As RSI's entry-level offering, the Aurora feels outdated compared to the more refined design of modern RSI ships like the Mantis, Constellation, and Galaxy. Its boxy design, cramped interior, and lack of dynamic features make it feel like a relic of the game's early development rather than a polished, competitive starter ship. While it does have its strength, particularly in durability and affordability, its overall design could be modernized to improve usability, aesthetics, and gameplay functionality. One of the most glaring issues with the Aurora is its interior layout. The current cockpit visibility is extremely poor, with struts obstructing the pilot's view. This is particularly frustrating for new players, as it makes navigation and combat more difficult than it should be. A redesign inspired by the RSI Mantis could dramatically improve the Aurora's interior. The Mantis features a sleek, ergonomic cockpit with better visibility and more refined control layout, and applying this design philosophy to the Aurora would make it a far more comfortable ship to fly. Additionally, the current sleeping area inside the Aurora is cramped and awkward, feeling more like an afterthought than a functional space. A more integrated bed system, similar to the Mantis, would make the ship feel more like a truly entry-level home for players rather than just a tiny box with a seat. Another major area that could be improved is its entry and exit system. The Aurora currently relies on a small, inconvenient side ladder, which is far from ideal, and a lot of my members at the Red Club get stuck in those, like Deplorable Infidel, for example. Compared to ships like the Adventure Titan, which has a real ramp for easy access, the Aurora's boarding process feels outdated and clunky. A new Aurora could benefit from a proper rear or side ramp, make it entry smoother while maintaining RSI's signature design. This would also potentially open up new opportunities here for the Aurora to carry a bit more than it currently does. Beyond the interior, the Aurora's wings could also see a major redesign. Right now, they're completely static and serve no real function beyond aesthetics. If RSI were to modernize the Aurora, it could adopt a deployable wing system similar to the Scorpius. The Scorpius wings fold forward, allowing for a dynamic transition between flight and storage mode. The Aurora could have a similar system, where its wings could fold outward in flight and provide better stability and potentially reposition its weapons for improved firing angles. This will give the Aurora a more aggressive, high-tech feel, making it stand out from other starter ships. Additionally, having its wings fold inward when landing would make the ship more compact and easier to store on larger vessels, further increasing its versatility. A full remake of the Aurora wouldn't just be about looks, it will also make the ship far more enjoyable to use. By adopting the modern RSI design philosophy, improving cockpit visibility, refining the interior layout, and introducing deployable wings, the Aurora could transform from an outdated boxy starter ship into a legitimate contender in the starter category. It would still be an affordable and beginner-friendly ship with a sleek, functional design that actually feels competitive. If RSI is serious about making its ships feel distinct and polished, then it's time for the Aurora to get the overhaul it deserves. Next, we'll talk about the RSI Constellation. The Constellation is one of Star Citizen's most recognizable ships. Unfortunately, it has become increasingly clear that it needs a complete rework. While the ship was once a top-tier multi-crew option, its outdated design and inefficient layout and clunky mechanics have left it lagging behind newer multi-crew ships like the Drake Corsair, RSI Galaxy, and Anvil Karak. The Constellation's core concept, a heavily armed, long-range multi-crew vessel, still holds value, but the execution here feels outdated compared to modern ship designs. A complete overhaul could vastly improve usability, combat effectiveness, and quality of life for players. One of the biggest issues for the Constellation is its interior layout, which suffers from poor space utilization. The ship is long and narrow, but much of that space is wasted on cramped hallways and awkward room placement. The living quarters feel restrictive, the turret placements are inconvenient, and the cargo bay is dominated by the Merlin docking system, which significantly limits its flexibility. Compared to the Corsair, which has a more open and practical interior, the Constellation feels overly compartmentalized and inefficient. A complete interior redesign could vastly improve the ship's functionality, making better use of its size while maintaining its multi-crew focus. The Merlin docking system, one of Constellation's signature features, also poses problems. While the idea of an integrated snubfighter is appealing, the current docking and undocking system is clunky and unreliable. Furthermore, the presence of the Merlin in the cargo bay severely restricts storage options. If RSI were to rework the Constellation, a modular rear section would be a much better solution. Instead of being locked into the Merlin, players could choose between a cargo expansion module, a dropship bay, or an alternative snubfighter. This will make the Constellation more adaptable to different playstyles, increasing its appeal to a wider range of players. The cockpit design is another area that needs improvement. RSI ships generally feature large, open canopies for good visibility, but the Constellation's cockpit is heavily obstructed by thick structural beams and a poor viewing angle. Compared to newer ships, like the Corsair for example, flying the Constellations feels claustrophobic and restrictive. A rework should introduce a more open, modern cockpit design, ensuring that pilots have better visibility and usability without compromising RSI's rugged industrial aesthetic. The weapon and turret placement on the Constellation is another major flaw. The ship features top and bottom manned turrets, but their firing arcs are severely limited, making them ineffective in many combat situations. Additionally, its side-mounted missile racks, while impressive in concept, are awkward to use and don't feel as intuitive as they should be. A proper redesign should reposition the turrets for better firing coverage, and perhaps introduce a remote turret system similar to what you would find in the C2 Hercules or even the Karak. This would make the Constellation a much stronger multi-crew combat vessel, reinforcing its role as a heavily armed long-range ship. Finally, I also think that the landing gear and entry system need to be completely reconsidered. Right now, the only practical way to enter the ship is through the cargo bay, which forces crew members to walk through the storage area just to reach their stations. It feels impractical and outdated compared to ships like the Corsair, which has a dedicated crew entry point. A proper rework should introduce side ramps or a separate crew entrance, not that clunky elevator that just kicks people out in Quantum Drive, which will make it easier for players to move in and out of the ship without interfering with cargo operations. A full rework of the RSI Constellation would breathe new life into the ship, making it more competitive, more functional, more enjoyable to use. By improving the interior layout, cockpit visibility, turret placement, docking system, and entry options, RSI could transform the Constellation into a truly modernized multi-crew ship that lives up to its legendary status. If Cloud Imperium Games wants to keep the Constellation relevant in the evolving Star Citizen universe, a redesign is therefore long overdue. Next, we have the MiX Freelancer, another beloved ship in the Star Citizen universe, known for its long-range hauling capability and rugged industrial design, but is also in serious need of a rework. Originally designed as a versatile cargo and exploration vessel, the Freelancer has become increasingly outdated compared to newer, better optimized ships like the Drake Corsair and even the Crusader Mercury Starrunner, which needs its own rework, and we're going to talk about it later. While its core concept is still solid, the Freelancer suffers from poor interior design, limited usability, and an awkward flight experience that makes it feel obsolete in today's ship lineup. One of the Freelancer's biggest problems right now is, again, how poorly its interior is arranged. Despite being a relatively wide ship, so to speak, it feels very cramped inside, narrow and inefficient. The crew quarters, cargo space and cockpit are all packed into a long, restrictive corridor, making movement inside the ship feel claustrophobic and frustrating. Additionally, the living space is bare bones and uninspired, lacking the comfort and functionality seen in newer ships like the Corsair or maybe the MSR. The bunk beds, tiny kitchen, and bathroom feels like an afterthought rather than an essential part of a long-haul vessel. Given that the Freelancer is meant to spend extended periods in deep space, the interior should be more practical, spacious, and comfortable for the crew. The Freelancer's cockpit is also one of the most frustrating in the game. Unlike most ships that offer good visibility, the Freelancer has a very interesting letterbox looking canopy, which really doesn't help for combat or navigation because of its limited vision. On top of that, the Freelancer's flight model feels sluggish and unresponsive, making it awkward to maneuver in both atmosphere and space. While it is meant to be a heavy hauler, so to speak, it lacks the stability and smooth handling of other cargo ships of its size. A rework should focus on improving cockpit visibility and making the ship feel more responsive while keeping its sturdy utilitarian nature. For a cargo-focused vessel, the Freelancer's storage space is also disappointingly inefficient. The rear cargo holds a relatively small cargo capacity for its size, and the interior layout makes loading and unloading more difficult than it should be. In contrast, ships like the Hull A or Hull B or even the Cutlass Black offer a much better cargo efficiency despite being smaller or similarly sized. A rework should therefore increase the cargo capacity and introduce a more logical loading system, potentially with side doors or an expanding ramp to improve usability. The ship's core function as a hauler should be reinforced, making it more competitive against smaller to mid-sized cargo runners. The Freelancer is marketing as a versatile all-purpose hauler, but its weapon placement is also poorly designed. The forward-facing turret is ineffective because it can only shoot at the ship, so you can only shoot at the back, otherwise you just shoot yourself, which is not something that you want to do. And also, it should perhaps have stronger shields, which would make it a viable option for independent pilots who need both cargo capacity and self-defense. So, a complete Freelancer rework should start with a more open and logical interior layout. The ship interior could be redesigned for better space utilization, making it feel less cramped and more practical for long-haul missions. The cockpit should be improved, offering better visibility. The cargo bay should be expanded for better options and also better optimized, maybe with side doors or a modular cargo attachment system. Additionally, the Freelancer's weapon system should be improved with a better turret placement and improved gun coverage. Overall, a complete Freelancer rework would turn it from an outdated and frustrating hauler into a truly capable and competitive mid-sized cargo vessels. With improved interior design, flight performance, and combat effectiveness, the Freelancer could reclaim its position as a top-tier ship for independent pilots and small crews. Last but not least, the Mercury Starrunner, which is another of Star Citizen's most stylish and beloved ships, designed as a high-speed data runner and smuggling vessel. However, despite its sleek aesthetic and unique concept, the MSR has several flaws that make it less practical than it should be. While it excels in speed and design, its interior layout, cargo functionality, accessibility, and defensive capabilities leave much to be desired. A rework could elevate the MSR from a visually impressive but flawed ship to a truly top-tier multi-purpose vessel. But one of the biggest problems with the MSR is how poorly optimized its interior layout is. While the ship has plenty of space, much of it is wasted in an oversized hallway system that is really unnecessary in my opinion. The main corridor is far wider than it needs to be, creating a lot of dead space that could have been used for more practical purposes. The server room, which should be a key component of the ship's data running gameplay, currently has no meaningful function beyond aesthetics. If the MSR is meant to be a high-tech espionage vessel, it needs actual data running mechanics tied to its design to make it more than just a cool-looking feature. Another major flaw is the awful mini elevator that connects the cargo bay to the main deck. Unlike other ships that allow for smooth movement between sections, the MSR forces players to wait for a slow-moving elevator just to access the interior. This is incredibly frustrating in high-pressure situations, such as when escaping an attack, cargo loading in a hurry, or trying to board a ship quickly. The MSR's elevator serves no real functional purpose other than looking fancy, but in practice it only makes using the ship more tedious. A rework should replace it with a simple staircase or ramp, allowing for quick and seamless movement between the cargo bay and the rest of the ship. The MSR's cargo functionality is also a major issue. For a ship that is frequently used for smuggling, the hidden compartments are too small to be truly useful. While the idea of a concealed cargo space is fantastic, it is so limited in size here that it doesn't really offer any advantage over other ships. Meanwhile, the main cargo hold is poorly designed, making loading and unloading far more inconvenient than it should be. A rework should improve cargo efficiency, making expanding the hidden compartments and making them a real advantage for players looking to transport illicit goods. Accessibility is another frustrating issue with the MSR. Unlike ships such as the Corsair or the Cutlass Black, which have multiple entry points, the MSR forces players to enter and exit exclusively through the rear ramp. This becomes a major hassle in tight landing zones or when trying to quickly board a ship under fire. A rework should add at least one alternative entry point, whether it's a side door or a top hatch, to make accessing the ship more convenient and practical. Despite being a mid-sized ship, the MSR also suffers from underwhelming defensive capabilities. Its turret placement is suboptimal here, and its weapon loadout doesn't hold up well against other ships in its category. While the MSR is designed to rely on speed rather than combat, its maneuverability isn't enough to justify how weak its weapon systems feel. If it's meant to operate in dangerous environments, it needs either improved turret coverage, better maneuverability, or stronger shields to make it a more viable ship for independent operators. A rework of the MSR should begin with smarter end-user design, reducing wasted space while maintaining its iconic sleek aesthetic. The mini elevator should be removed entirely and replaced with a simple staircase or ramp for quick movements between the cargo bay and the main deck. Cargo hold should be better optimized with extended hidden compartments. The data running room here should be tied to actual gameplay. Maybe they should have like a variant for data runner and another one for cargo holding, right? Because right now it feels very useless. The MSR's combat effectiveness should be improved with better turret placement and also better shields. And overall, I think that a proper rework could transform the MSR from a flawed but stylish ship into a truly effective multi-purpose vessel. If Crusader Industries were to fix the interior design, improve cargo functionality, enhance its defensive capabilities, and remove frustrating elevator issues, it would be really one of the best mid-sized ships in Star Citizen. So to conclude, we could say that of course each of these ships, the Aurora, the Constellation, the Freelancer, and the MSR, have their place in Star Citizen, but they all suffer from outdated designs, frustrating layouts, and gameplay limitations that hold them back. The Aurora desperately needs a modernized interior, better visibility, and perhaps its deployable wings also for added functionality. The Constellation struggles with poor turret placement and awkward modularity, and a cargo bay that feels outdated. The Freelancer also has an uncomfortable cockpit design and inefficient interior layout. And finally, the MSR, while beloved for its speed and style, suffers from a lot of wasted space and that stupid mini elevator. A proper rework of these ships would bring them up to modern Star Citizen standards, making them just not better looking but also far more functional and immersive. Whether it's improving their layouts, enhancing their combat potential, or fixing glaring accessibility issues, each of these ships has the potential to be so much better than they are today. But what do you think? Which of these ships do you think needs a rework the most? Let me know in the comment section down below. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We have a giveaway this month. It's another Super Hornet, not a Heartseeker, just a regular one, Mark II. So make sure to subscribe and comment to any videos posted this month. 10 entries will put into the Wheel of Names, automatic entries for Patreon and YouTube members. Guys, thank you so much to Dr. Flamenco, Cartarsisius, Shadowrise, The Key to Ducker, Zero Crusher. I have been Iran, and I'll see you guys in the next one.